Howdy y'all, welcome to Hazen Barrel Craftworks here on the Hazen Barrel Homestead and our humble whiskey room. I'm the Alchemist. Well, how'd y'all do? Happy New Year's. It's the day after New Year's and I hope you all made it through just fine. I know I did. I had a good time. Nothing too exciting. Low key. My beautiful bride and I, we had a nice time spending some time together. Nothing too exciting. Few movies with son-in-law and my daughter, and just a nice time. But one thing that is consistent this whole week long is what I've been telling you about Mother Nature, and that she is keeping it cold. So it's a good thing that we're warming ourselves with some nicely proofed whiskey. And we started this week with what folk have been saying, you know, as I review things and talk to some friends with, you know, what some folks say is the sweet spot of proof for whiskey. Now, I don't know if any of y'all agree with that or not. Put something in the comments if you do. Have I hit your sweet spot this week? Or does your sweet spot land somewhere else? Is it lower than the 110 to 120? Or do you like higher proof? If you like higher proof, you know, stay tuned this week because we're moving on up. But on this Friday, I felt it appropriate, even though we hit high rise this week, I felt it appropriate to really hit a rye whiskey on this Friday. And that is Fiddler from ASW Distillery. And Fiddler is a 95.5 rye, at least this offering anyway. And this one comes in at 59 ABV, so what do we got there? 118 proof, so we've bumped it up again. And when we take a look at this bottle, you can see on the label, it's toasted. But that doesn't mean it was in the toasted barrel for the entire time. It was aged for 8 years in a white oak barrel, but then finished for 2 years and 2 months in a heavy char. So 8 years in a number 3 white oak, and 2 years, 2 months in a heavy toasted barrel to create a nice, unique finish. And now talking about a nice, unique finish and talking about ASW distilleries out of Atlanta, Georgia, a couple of friends, Jim and Charlie, they set out to source really good barrels of whiskey. And their concept was, as they sourced these good barrels of whiskey, that they wanted to finish them in unique ways to make these whiskeys better than anyone else is doing. And this rye whiskey that we're having today is one of those unique concepts that they have. You grab yourself a 8 year and you toast it even longer, and you come up with something better than what anyone else has done for a rye whiskey in their mind. Well, how does it stand up in the old alchemist's mind? Well, first of all, I mean, look at that beautiful color. I mean, as I see that, man, I'm hoping for some barrel. As I think toast, I'm hoping for some sweetness. But you don't know until you start nosing and you start sipping. So let's see what we got on this Friday in our transition week, as Mother Nature is just begging us to warm ourselves up. with the cold she's beating us up with this week. Oh, the nose. I don't know if I told you, if you remember, I think I said so. If you remember on Wednesday's video, New Year's Eve, I told you as these proofs bump up, I got to be careful because I love to just nose and nose and nose, and sometimes I'll breathe in just a little bit too much and get me coughing a little bit. So I'm going to have to be careful here as we're at 118 proof. This nose is so delightful already, even without some sips, that I want to just nose this one and really breathe deep and see what this delicious rye has to offer, but I got to take it easy. Otherwise I'm going to have to put this video on an ASMR of an old man coughing and choking. Right off the bat, I mean, right off the bat, it is clearly a good rye. There are some nice, clear, herbal rye notes. But they are surrounded by a sweetness that I really want to unfold. So let me go in for my sips so I can unfold this sweetness that's wrapped around these herbal rye notes. I'm going in for another here quick. Okay, that's good. That 118 proof hugs the tip of the tongue and holds it warm. A lot of people call that the rye pepper. I call it that proof heat, that nice heat on the tip of my tongue. I love it. It's there. It's hanging on. I like how it's hanging on. That sweetness that's in there, it's a very interesting and complex combination. For me, there's some like graham in here, like a nice graham cracker, just crushed and sprinkled in there to start off this sweetness. And that graham almost dries it up a bit, like you would think if you just took graham cracker crumbs and just put them in your mouth. Just a bunch of them. So you imagine that sweetness from that crushed bunch of graham cracker crumbs in your mouth, and then how that would dry your mouth out just a little bit. So this is how it's starting, along with that heat and that nice proof heat. You know, we're talking warming ourselves up in winter, right? That nice proof heat is just warming me up nicely, right down the throat, right to my insides, right where you want to be warmed up. as Mother Nature is tossing me some -7. It's right there. But I have to say, I'm also getting a bit of like a refined fruity jam. More like more like a fruity berry marmalade that if you took a whole graham cracker and you spread it on there, you've got just this nice, but it's such a thin layer. If you can, you take that marmalade, you spread it on there, and then you just kind of scrape it off. So there's the thinnest layer on there because it's just a hint. And the whole while that you have this, you still have this rye freshness in here. Those nice rye herbs that I love, and they're fresh. It's slightly, no, it's minty. I was gonna say slightly less than minty. Then I went in for this nose, and all of a sudden, whoo, mintiness, but also a crisp herbiness. Like you just picked some fresh herbs. So like a fresh, almost sweet mint, but a fresh mint, but not like strong mint. You know when you have fresh mint, I don't know if any of y'all grow mint in your garden, but if you grow mint in your garden and you pick it fresh, typically it's like really, it's strong and in your face. Well, it's got that mint freshness, but not that in your face. So it's a nice, delicate combination of like a nice, mildly sweet mint, mildly sweet, and a mildly fresh, crisp mint that you picked fresh. It's not in your face, it's just clean and crisp and fresh and nice. Oh, nice. And that herbalness is still there with that bit of graham and that slight bit then of a bite of a graham cracker with that thin layer of marmalade, berry marmalade across it. And now this is all after all this time in a barrel. That barrel does come in. And as you finish, that barrel is there. And it settles in nicely. And you get that barrel in the back of the palate. You get that barrel on the finish. But this minty graham marmalade berry, it just rests on that barrel and finishes so well. Very nice. Well done, ASW. And I can see where you're headed with this unique finishing. You guys are spot on. Well played. I have to say, if any of y'all have an ASW, I'd love to hear in the comments what ASW you have and how they've made it unique and what you like about it. I'd like to find some more expressions from them on this because, you know, if you will allow, they have fiddled nicely with this expression. I'd like to see how they fiddle with some more. And as y'all know, I love to have y'all coming back around. So please, take it easy. Don't drink and drive. Cheers.